Americans' paper wealth, digital wealth, shows a lot more, shows other people that they have a lot more than they actually do. In reality, they really have so much less, if anything at all. And I'm trying to go into this a little bit and explain this. Just take food, for example. Food itself, back 20 years, 10 years ago, 40 years ago, to today, the food today is so highly degraded, has very little, if any, nutrition in it, and that's just the food itself. And people say, well, I have $1 million in this bank account. I have $1 million in these stocks. I have $1 million in these funds. Or I have $1 million in cash. Whatever, but it's not real. It's you have these digits or this paper, but it's not real. It's not, and it was very hard. It took a long time for me to learn this over the last 20 years. But it's not real. It's not real. And the only reason that people say, well, I'm a millionaire, I'm a trillionaire, I'm a billionaire, I have $1,000, $10,000, dollars in the bank, so I've got some money, that kind of stuff. But that's not real. So let's try to go down this a little bit. Their wealth is in paper, and/or digits, or both, and they have nothing for it. They own nothing. They own nothing. Nothing is owned by them. Nothing is theirs. They have these digits. They have this paper. These stocks. They don't even have like stocks used to be, and you used to get these stock certificates. You don't even have that nowadays. It's not even like that. You have nothing really, and I know it makes some people feel good because they have whatever they feel they have in the bank, these digits or this cash or whatever. But really, if you think about it, they own nothing. So talk about how degraded and how little food is compared to what it used to be. That's like that with everything. So people spending their digits and their money, we'll call that their paper, the currency on items. How are the items nowadays compared to before? Look at this. Items being purchased overall. Nowadays, the last 10 years, the last 15 years, 20 years even, and it's just getting worse and worse, are basically large items that are expensive, pieces of plastic, and cheap materials. That's it. How about widescreen TVs? They're a dime a dozen nowadays. You see them all over, everywhere. And they last? A couple years? Maybe 4 or 5 years at most. People are usually changing those out by then because it's always about the biggest and the best and the latest and greatest. But that will change as this depression gets more and more involved, in my opinion only. So they're buying this kind of plastic, material things so they can watch the propaganda coming from the television. So that's something that really has no value to it. Along with widescreen TVs, they don't last more than a couple of years. Like I said, there's washers and dryers that are the same sort of deal. Washers and dryers. I know people who've had washer and dryer for the last, 30, 40 years. And yeah, it's not the latest and greatest and most upgraded and most advanced, but it still works. Nowadays, people are going through washers and dryers within every 4 years, it seems like. 3 years. Sometimes 5 years they'll last, and then that's a long time. And these are not cheap. They cost, $1,000, $1,500, and they're just throwaways. They're disposable, and that's what the society is nowadays. Society is just a disposable society. Refrigerators are the same thing. Refrigerators, large appliances like that are the same thing. They do not last. They do not last long. And sort of like if back in the day, we're talking 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago, your TV breaks down, you can go to a TV repair shop in almost any town and get that TV fixed. Those repair shops are few and far in between because nobody repairs these things anymore. You throw them away and you buy another one because they're cheap and they're built cheap. They're made to be disposable. That's all they are nowadays. Ranges and stoves, same thing. I said all appliances, the same thing. There's very few of anything. If you're going to get something that lasts, you're going to really spend some money on it. And you're going to have to go to certain areas or certain places or special order these items because those aren't the norm. So same with digital books. There's digital books, there's digital music, there's digital movies, there's digital programs. It's just, I subscribe to this, I subscribe to that. I don't really own anything. I've talked about this before, but there's no ownership. So this person who has $1 million in the bank, or their 401k or their IRA or stocks and bonds or whatever, like I said, that they have $1 million. We'll say we'll use that as an easy number. What happens when the dollar crashes? I'm talking America right now, or any other country, but just the U.S. If the dollar crashes and maybe it doesn't get to zero, maybe it gets equivalent of what you could buy for $100. Now you could probably get $1 worth of stuff. So $1 worth of items costs you $100, or $5 worth of items costs you $1,000. Because I mean that sounds ridiculous, but if you think about it, back in 1913 compared to today, 2023, it's a huge gap, and a huge amount, because that's basically how it was. So where did all that go? All that inflation, all that happened, where did all of it go? Because you and I didn't benefit from it. The banksters and the heads and the politicians benefited from that. So that's theft, that's thievery, they stole all that stuff. I just want to do a quick little deal here. So just show you some of the stuff that had wealth to it. All these paper items had wealth. These are all from different areas. So here, let's see if I can say this is Bank of Sudan. This one here is Iraq bill. This one here is Uganda. This one here is Honduras. This is Mexico. This one here is Venezuela. All right, I'm just trying to go through some of these faster. This is South Sudan here. This is the Bank of Nigeria. So all of these paper currency items, they used to call them dollars or whatever it was, that was the norm. This was money to them. The equivalent of money to them. This had real value to them. All of these. And this is just a fraction. All of these had real value to them. And I'm not talking 100 years, 100 years ago. I'm talking 5 to 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Within that scope, they all went to zero. Those are worth nothing. This is the most infamous one, or famous, whatever you want to call it, the $100 trillion bill. This is Zimbabwe here. I believe this was 2006. This had real value to it, 2006. This was not even 17 years ago. This has real value to it. This, I believe it was the end of 2005, one Zimbabwe dollar was almost equivalent to one United States dollar, one Federal Reserve note. They were almost equivalent. I think it was probably 1.5 to 1 or something like that. Now this is worth zero. This is worth nothing. It's worth zero. This had real value. I mean, this one itself, the $100 trillion bill, didn't, because by the time this was printed and being put in the population, it really had no more value to it because it was hyperinflating so fast. So the ones that were the $50 trillion bill, the $1 trillion bill, those ones had real value to them. And by the time this was printed, it was sort of useless because it was going so fast. But I'm saying this because this is really what happens. People, I'm a trillionaire. I'm 100 trillionaire, whatever you want to call it. And then here in Iraq currency or Sudan currency, that kind of stuff, I mean, I have a lot of wealth here for all these different countries. I have a lot of wealth. Well, back in the day, people used to view this as a lot of wealth. They used to view this as a lot of wealth. This had real power, real spending power to it. Now it has zero. Now it has zero. Just like these. $100 bill and a $20 bill. Right now, these still have some value to it. Still have some. A little bit compared to what they used to in 1913, 1950 even. 1970, 50 years ago. These had real value to them. Real value to them. Now they have a little bit. Not much, what they used to. They have a little bit. But soon, I'm thinking this is going to be the same as all of these. The same as all of these. So what happened to all that value? What happened to all that wealth? What happened to all that spending power? It just disintegrated? It just went away? Well, not really. Because people believed, they trusted in the system, so they put value on this, and then they exchanged goods and services for this and these. And then over time, as the thievery keeps building and building, and happening over and over, slow, so people don't feel it as much, then all of a sudden it just goes away, and the people at the controls took all of it and leave us with the paper or just the digits that are really worth nothing. So if people would have taken all that stuff, all that currency, and said, you know what, I'm not going to play these games. I'm not going to take these digits or this paper currency. I will because I have to pay taxes or because I have to do this or that. So I'm going to very minimal be involved in it. But with the rest of it, I'm going to buy real items. I'm going to buy real silver. This basically here, this would cost you a little over $100 for 4 of these. All right? So 1950, you had this $100 bill. They could buy you so much more in 1950 than they can today. 1950, you had 4 of these 1 ounce rounds, 1 ounce coins, silver. You could buy the same amount in 1950 than you can buy with these today, equivalent, the same amount. This, not so much. This can buy a fraction of what you could buy in 1950, 1913, 1970, 1980. The year 2000, you can buy a fraction of what you can today. 2000, you could buy so much more than you can today with this. You can buy a fraction of this. These, if you had these, over all that time period, you can buy about the same amount of goods and services. Same with this. Same with this. This is a 1 ounce gold buffalo. This here, same deal. Same sediment. You had this, 1913, 1950, 1970, 2000, 2015. Or you had the equivalent of what this costed in 1913, 1950, 1970, the year 2000, 2015 to today. You can roughly buy the same amount of goods and services with this 1 ounce gold coin as you could back then to today. It has the same spending value. Unlike this $20 bill, this $100 bill, or even, if I can grab it, this $100 trillion bill. Doesn't work like that. There's not so much. These don't hold value at all. These don't hold any real wealth. This and this does. So not just here trying to pump gold and silver. I'm talking about real value, real items with real value. Or we're talking land. We're talking stuff that you need to survive and thrive. That's some sort of access to water. That's food. That's whether it's a garden, whether it's potted plants. that produce food, whether it's vegetable or kind of garden, or it's fruit trees, whatever, that has real value to it. So if you spend that currency on items that have real value, then you will be in a much better situation because no one can steal that from you. Same with this here. This is a Springfield, 1911. This has real value. This has real value to it. It's a real gun, and the ammunition that this takes has real value. It has real value to it. So why would I hold on to a bunch of these, 12 of these, 11 of these, 15 of these, 8 of these, whatever it costs, the equivalent of whatever firearm you want and ammunition? Or why would you not buy that firearm and ammunition? Or why would you not buy that land? Or why would you not buy that gold and that silver? Why would you not buy those real items? Because they can't take that away. They can't inflate that away. They can't, steal that away like they do with this. And the digits, they steal that away. They're stealing right now. It's being stolen from you. It's being taken from you. This, it's yours. They can't take it. It's real. Same with gold, same with firearms, ammunition, a food source, water source. Same with learning things, getting skills, that kind of stuff. It's so disheartening to see people I know. They're like, well, we got $2 million in the bank, so we're okay. We got it covered. It's like, you have no idea. You maybe have these digits in the bank. You feel good and you feel safe, but you own nothing. You own nothing. You own no rentals. You own nothing. You live in a home that's mortgaged somewhere without any property on it. You don't have any sort of things going on for gardening or fruit trees or anything else. You don't have firearms, ammunition. You don't really have gold and silver. You don't really have anything else except these digits. That's what you have. It's the same sense, but it's a false security that people have. I don't know where to go with this. I don't know what's to come of this, but I'm just trying to get this out there and get people thinking about it and realizing that's real. It's here, and it's the indoctrination of society, and that's how people can steal things away, and governments and countries steal things away from those unexpected and unknowing because they don't know and they've been propagandized into believing other falsehoods than what reality is. But anyways, I thank you for watching this. Like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And as always, stay vigilant for yourself. And, thank you.